Your grocery bill just got a lot more expensive, your gas tank too, your mortgage rate moved in the wrong direction, and your retirement account took a hit, all at once, all in the same month. And most Americans still have not figured out why. It is not complicated. There is a 21-mile stretch of water at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. Ships carrying 1 in every 5 barrels of oil on this planet travel through that channel every single day. It is called the Strait of Hormuz. And as of March 2026, it is shut. No tankers, no oil, no gas moving through it. That shutdown is the answer to every question you have about prices right now. Gas is already up nearly 80 cents per gallon in under a month. Your household burns about 90 gallons a month, so that is $72 gone every single month that was not gone in January. Across a year, 8 on 64 vanished, and the channel is still closed with zero resolution in sight. Food prices are 60 days behind. The same diesel carrying your groceries to the store, the same fertilizer keeping your food cheap, all of it is caught in the same squeeze. RSM US, one of the top economic analysis firms in the country, says food prices will rise noticeably within 60 days. Not might, will. The supply chain has already swallowed the cost increase. It just has not printed it on the shelf label yet. Goldman Sachs raised recession odds to 25%. That is 1 in 4. Mortgage rates jumped 30 basis points in 2 weeks and are not done climbing. The economy lost 92,000 jobs in February, worse than anyone forecast. Jet fuel is up 85%, which means every flight you book this spring or summer will cost you more than it would have cost you in January. This is not a political video. Who started it? Who is right? Who is wrong? None of that pays your bills. This is a money video. The 8 moves in it are the ones that determine whether your household comes out of this intact or comes out of it with lasting damage. Here is the thing that separates the people who get through a period like this from the people who do not. It is not how much money they had going in, it is whether they acted while the window was still open. The window is open right now. Here is how to use it. Before we get into the 8 moves, you need to understand one thing, because once you understand it, every piece of bad economic news you are going to hear over the next 6 months will make immediate sense instead of feeling random. Picture a funnel. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq, Qatar, all of that oil production, almost all of it has to pass through a single 21-mile bottleneck before it can reach any market on Earth. That bottleneck is the Strait of Hormuz. Before February 28th, roughly 130 ships passed through it every single month. 1/5 of the world's seaborne oil. Moving on schedule, keeping prices stable, then it shut. Tanker traffic dropped 70% almost overnight, then to near zero. Brent crude went from $67 a barrel to over $100 in just over 2 weeks, a 50% jump. The International Energy Agency called it the largest disruption in the history of the global oil market, and the people controlling the closure made clear they are not in a hurry to reopen it. Their public statement was direct. You will not be able to artificially lower the price of oil. Expect oil at $200 per barrel. Now here is the part that most people miss, and it is the part that matters for your grocery bill. 1/3 of the world's fertilizer supply travels through that same strait. The urea fertilizer American farmers use to grow your food, it moved through there. Since February 28th, the price of that fertilizer jumped 35%. Climbing from $475 a metric ton to $680. American farmers are right now heading into spring planting season while simultaneously watching both their fuel costs and their fertilizer costs spike at the same time. The president of the American Farm Bureau sent a letter to the White House warning exactly that. Those higher costs move through the supply chain and show up at your checkout counter within about 60 days. The IEA released a record 400 million barrels from global strategic reserves to try to put a lid on oil prices. Sounds enormous. Here is the problem. The world burns 105 million barrels of oil every single day. 400 million barrels is 4 days of supply. Brent crude was still trading above 103 after touching 120. Oxford Economics ran the numbers on what happens if oil stays around $140 a barrel for 2 months. Their answer? Economic standstill in the United States. Goldman Sachs did not go that far, but They moved their inflation forecast to between 2.9 and 3.3% and raised recession odds 5 percentage points to 25%. That is the economic environment these 8 moves are designed for. Let's go through them. Number 1. Stock your pantry now before the 60-day clock runs out. Here is a way to think about this. The price increase has already happened inside the supply chain. Fertilizer up 35%. Diesel heading toward $5. Trucking surcharges already being tacked onto shipping rates. FedEx has started adding them. The cost increase is already moving toward the grocery store shelf. It just has not arrived there yet. What that means practically is that the items sitting on the shelf this week are priced at yesterday's costs. The items sitting on that same shelf in June or July will be priced at today's costs. That window between those 2 price points is where buying ahead of the increase makes complete sense. Wayne Weingarten, economist at the Pacific Research Institute, put the full picture plainly. This disruption is pushing prices upward for gasoline, electricity, and groceries through compounding increases in transportation, packaging, and fertilizer costs, and it will worsen affordability for families who are already stretched thin. David Ortega from Michigan State put it even simpler. Food gets to the grocery store on diesel, whether it comes on a truck or a boat. An extra 2 weeks' worth of shelf-stable items you are going to buy anyway, canned goods, dry beans, rice, pasta, olive oil, frozen proteins, bought at today's prices, is not paranoia. It is a scheduled purchase moved forward by 6 weeks before the price changes. If the forecasts are right, that decision saves real money. If the forecasts are wrong, you spent the same money slightly earlier than you would have anyway. The downside is nothing. Number 2, cancel or delay spring and summer travel that does not have to happen now. Jet fuel is up 85% since the operation began. Under normal conditions, jet fuel is roughly 30% of what it costs an airline to operate. Right now, that number has become crushing, and airlines are handling it the same way trucking companies handle rising diesel costs. They add a surcharge and pass it to you directly on the ticket. If a flight is genuinely time-sensitive, book it today. Prices are moving in one direction. If the trip can move 3 to 6 months without meaningful cost to you, that delay has a concrete payoff. The money that would have gone toward a flight at peak disruption pricing goes into a high-yield savings account, paying 4 to 5% annually right now. The vacation you take in the fall costs the same enjoyment and puts far less strain on a household that may be absorbing multiple simultaneous cost increases between now and then. Number 3, build a 6-month cash cushion, not eventually, now. Every other move on this list is easier with a cash reserve. Without one, every other move on this list is a possible crisis in waiting. Let's be honest about what Goldman Sachs saying 25% recession odds actually means. It means 1 in 4 chance of the kind of economic contraction where companies start laying off workers, not slowly, quietly, over years, fast, in clusters. And the thing about recessions that nobody fully internalizes until they are inside one is that the job loss and the depleted savings almost always hit the same household at the same time. You lose the income right when you have the least cash to fall back on. The U.S. economy shed 92,000 jobs in February alone, worse than every analyst prediction going into that report. The economy has now lost jobs in 5 out of the past 9 months. That is the job market that a $100 oil shock is landing on top of. Gregory Dacko at EY Parthenon made the trajectory clear. The longer this disruption runs, the deeper the economic damage goes. Day 20, straight still closed, nothing resembling a resolution anywhere. The target is 3 to 6 months of what it costs to keep your household running. Rent or mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, transportation. The single most useful thing you can do right now, before anything else, is calculate that number with precision, because most households have a rough sense of monthly spending, but have never actually identified the floor, the absolute minimum it takes to keep the lights on and the family fed. That floor is the number that matters when circumstances force the question. A high-yield savings account paying 4 to 5% annually is where that money lives, not in a checking account. Checking accounts at current inflation rates are actively losing purchasing power every single month. The reserve earns a return, and it insulates you from the sequence that damages most households. the unexpected expense that lands when there is nothing in the account to absorb it. Mark Zandi at Moody's identified exactly who this type of inflation hits hardest. Lower and middle-income households spend a higher portion of their budget on gas and food, which means this specific disruption concentrates its damage on the people with the least cushion. Building that cushion now, before the full food and energy price spiral arrives, is the most direct thing available to you. Start the audit today. Subscriptions sitting unused, restaurant spending that became a default, streaming services running in the background of your life without running in your living room. Every dollar redirected earns interest and creates options. The households that come through this period without permanent damage will not be the ones that had the most money going in. They will be the ones who made the cushion while there was still time to make it. Number 4, cut your driving now and lock in every fuel saving available to you. The national average for regular gas was $2.92 at the end of February. By mid-March, it had climbed to $3.72, 80 cents in under a month. In San Francisco, a pump photographed on March 12th showed regular at $6.50 per gallon. Diesel is heading toward $5. 90 gallons per month at an extra 80 cents is $72 gone from your household every single month that was not gone in January. Over a year, that is 864. David Kelly at JP Morgan called the combination of rising fuel costs and a weakening job market a very nasty 1-2 punch to household finances. Mark Zandi at Moody's put the national number on it. Every 1 cent sustained increase in a gallon of gas adds nearly $1.4 billion in annual gasoline spending across the whole country. The strait is still closed. There is no ceasefire being negotiated. The people controlling the closure publicly stated they want oil at $200 per barrel. Assuming prices stabilize while those conditions remain unchanged is not optimism. It is math done wrong. A gas rewards credit card returning 5% on fuel purchases is real money at current prices. Gas Buddy finds the cheapest station near you, so every fill-up is a deliberate decision rather than a default. Combining errands into single trips, adding a work-from-home day where the job allows, eliminating the drives that exist out of habit rather than necessity. All of it adds up across a shock economists are describing in months, not days. Number 5, review your investments and your mortgage before both move further against you. The Dow crossed 50,000 for the first time on February 6th. President Trump cited that number in his State of the Union on February 24th. By March 17th, it had retreated to approximately 46,560. The S&P 500 shed 2.5% since operations began. Not all sectors are moving together. Energy stocks have risen as oil crossed $100. Airlines, trucking companies, and consumer retailers are being squeezed from both directions simultaneously. Technology carries an exposure most coverage has not highlighted. Gulf state sovereign wealth funds have built large positions in Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, and Google over the past decade. Instability in those economies reduces that investment flow and creates real headwinds for those valuations. Goldman's revised inflation forecast changes how bonds and equities perform relative to each other going forward. Anyone within 5 to 10 years of retirement has a specific reason to review their allocation with a financial advisor this week, not to react to what has already moved, but to position deliberately before the next move happens. On mortgages, one day before operations began, the 30-year fixed rate dipped to 5.98%, below 6% for the first time since 2022. That window closed within days. By March 12th, the rate had climbed to 6.29%. Sonu, Vargex Carson Group, stated the outlook plainly. The Fed is unlikely to cut rates at all in 2026 and may begin discussing increases later this year. The monthly difference between 6.29% and 7% on a $300,000 loan is approximately $170. Any household carrying a variable rate mortgage has a time-sensitive reason to speak with a mortgage professional this week. Number 6, do not lock in new long-term fixed expenses right now. This is one of the most practical moves on this list, and almost no financial coverage of this disruption mentions it. A 25% recession probability combined with a job market that has shed positions in 5 of the past 9 months means income uncertainty is a real and present factor for a large share of American households. When income becomes uncertain, the most valuable thing in your financial life is flexibility. A new car lease, a multi-year service agreement, a subscription commitment, any new fixed monthly obligation you sign today makes you less flexible at exactly the moment when flexibility is worth the most. If a contract is coming up for renewal, push for a shorter term, or negotiate a pause option. If a major financial commitment is under consideration, the case for waiting 60 to 90 days is stronger right now than it has been in years. The situation may be clearer inside that window. If it is not, the option to commit is still sitting there waiting for you. Every obligation you do not add today is a choice you retain for later. Number 7. Reduce your home energy costs before the bill reflects the new pricing. Electricity and natural gas prices follow oil and gas. The direction of travel for utility bills is up, and the household that reduces consumption before the bill changes is in a better position than the one that reduces it after. LED lighting. Weather stripping on drafty windows. A thermostat schedule that runs less during unoccupied hours. Unplugging devices drawing standby power around the clock. Individually, none of these moves the needle dramatically. Together, they consistently produce 10 to 15% reductions in household energy consumption. A programmable thermostat costs under $50 and typically pays for itself within a few weeks at current energy prices, then keeps delivering savings every month indefinitely. Number 8. Call your insurance agent this week and check for inflation gaps. This one is invisible until you need to file a claim, which is the worst time to find out about it. A homeowner's policy written 2 years ago was based on 2-year-old construction costs. Building materials, labor, and contractor rates have all climbed significantly since then. A policy that covered a full rebuild when you bought it may now have a gap between what it pays and what a rebuild actually costs. The same issue exists in renters' policies, auto coverage, and any fixed limit policy. The coverage amount has not changed. The cost of what that amount is supposed to cover has. This is a 20-minute phone call. Ask your agent directly. Given what construction and materials cost right now, does my coverage limit still cover a full rebuild or replacement? If the answer is no, adjusting it now costs far less than discovering the gap after a fire or a flood. Here is where day 20 stands. Gas up nearly 80 cents per gallon. Grocery prices rising within 60 days. Jet fuel up 85%. 92,000 jobs lost in February. Mortgage rates up 30 basis points in 2 weeks. Goldman Sachs at 25% recession odds. $12 billion spent in the first 2 weeks of this operation. And the Strait of Hormuz still closed with no end in sight. None of those are things you can change. But 8 things on this list are: stock the pantry before the shelf price catches up, skip the expensive spring trip, build the 6-month reserve, cut the fuel spending, review the portfolio and the mortgage, stop adding new fixed obligations, tighten the energy bill, check the insurance. The people who come out of this without lasting damage will not be the richest ones. They will be the ones who acted while the window was still open. It is still open. Share this with someone it could help, because that window does not stay open forever.